crowd tonight. This is really good. Very nice. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. This meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel, Spectrum Channel 1302. The video is also streaming on the city's website and is posted by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you would like to receive an electronic city council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the city clerk's office during regular business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to City Mailings email list. That's City Meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device, and we now need to take attendance. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Kaden Bosley,
Here.
Laura E. Tobin,
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams.
Here.
Edward J. Haas.
Here.
Philip M. Jones.
Present.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris E. Roberts.
Here.
Jacob R. Favalise.
Here.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Bettina A. Chadbourne. Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilor Chadbourne. Would you please lead us in a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'd like to recognize Councilor Greenwald for a motion on the minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt the minutes of the March 6, 2025 meeting as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any comments, corrections from councilors? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you, Councilor Greenwald, for standing in for me. We have some birthday announcements for March. Randy Filio on March 5th. Bettina Chadbourne for March 9th. Two of them that have passed. And Jacob Favalise, we get to still celebrate your birthday on March 29th, which is my daughter's birthday, too. Hey. All right. We've got some announcements for the evening. You'll see at your desk that the fabulous Linda Mangonis, who wrote so many grants for the City of Keene and the county and the Keene Housing Authority, that she is retiring after many years of service. It says 50 years on your announcement to the city. That is on April 9th. Try to book that in your calendar if you can, and join over at the community room on 105 Castle Street, which is named after her. Want to get on your calendars, too, the Master Plan Futures Summit, which will be held June 3rd at 5 p.m. at the Keene Public Library. The 3 rounds of diving into each of the 6 pillars in the master plan is concluding very rapidly this month. That Futures Summit will be a chance to engage the community in some broad fashion before it starts to come back to the council and the planning board for their approvals. The legislative delegation meeting is going to be held on Wednesday, April 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Heberton Hall. I encourage councilors to attend that. It will identify several bills that are of interest to the city. There are some of those that I think we're going to need to maybe take a position on before then. In particular, a bill that would cap, set a state cap on school funding that seems like an invasion on local control. And then at the federal level, a loss of funding for interlibrary loan programs. So these are programs that obviously are going to very much affect the city. Anyway, these are things that might be more timely to bring to and likely wind up at PLD as a state policy kind of question. Okay, that covers those announcements. Tonight, we have with us, we have tried to build into our meetings recognition of those who have been recognized beyond our city limits. And our amazing sports programs at Keene High School have really pushed the boundaries on that this year. So I expected a large crowd from the basketball team. If I could ask for them to come forward, along with Coach Ray Boulay, we'd like to honor you for your outstanding performance this year. This is great. This is what a guy who's maybe 5'6" and a half always dreams of, standing in front of a bunch of people that are not. Yeah, yeah. I had the privilege of spending several Friday nights with you guys. It was a real pleasure and honor, in fact, to be with you in Purbeck Gym and to watch you guys perform. You just kept finding ways to win, and it was just an incredible, remarkable season for you guys. I'm gonna, and what was really endearing about this is the way that the community responded. And Coach, you provided me with some statistics of the kind of support, financial, as well as being present at games, that meant a lot to your team, and how you could support the team during the year. And I want to say to the community, that's what makes us strong, is when we've got teams that are performing at a high level, and we've got a community that's willing to support them at that high level. And it's a good partnership. So I have a proclamation that I'd like to read. On behalf of the City of Keene, whereas the City of Keene takes immense pride in its vibrant basketball community, a passion evident in the enthusiastic support at both Keene State College's Spalding Gym and Keene High School's Purbeck Gym. This year, the 2025 Keene High School boys basketball team elevated that pride, delivering a season of exceptional achievement that resonated throughout our community. And whereas the 2025 Keene High School boys basketball team, under the exceptional leadership of Coach Ray Boulay, Ray, that's him. Under the leadership of Ray Boulay, a distinguished Keene High School baseball alumnus, achieved a truly remarkable 19-6 record and a historic appearance in the NHIAA, the New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association's Division I state championship game at the University of New Hampshire's Lundholm Gym. And whereas this achievement shattered a 33-year drought, marked the program's first state final appearance since 1992, and stands as a testament to the team's unwavering dedication, your relentless hard work, and remarkable resilience in overcoming both physical and emotional challenges during the year. Whereas 4 seasons ago, before Coach Boulay and guard Javon Messiah joined the Keene High School basketball team, the record of the team was 3-15. And since then, the team's record steadily improved to 5-13 in 2023, to 13-9 in 2024, to 19-6 in 2025, including nail-biting state tournament wins over Trinity and Portsmouth high schools. And whereas 3 Keene High School players earned well-deserved all-state honors, Javon Messiah, Javon, maybe a shout out? Yeah. Recognized as a first-team all-state selection, and played an all-state game last night, I guess. Did others play in that game too?
No.
No.
There's a couple others playing Saturday, though, and another all-star game.
It keeps rolling. But in addition to Javon, Fitch Hennessy, Fitch, Christopher. And Jamal Stanley. There he is. Jamal, and in addition to being named to the All-State Honorable Mention, Jamal, you were also named to the All-Defensive Team, led the team in rebounds in that final game. And, yeah, he's not that tall, but he can jump. Whereas these three players earned their distinctions, but whereas despite the heartbreaking outcome of the championship game decided by a single point, the Keene City Council, on behalf of all area residents, wants to recognize the Keene High School boys basketball student athletes for demonstrating, quote, "The true value of sports participation lies in the effort, dedication, and the character displayed rather than solely in the outcome, lessons that will serve you all very well throughout your lives." Therefore, as mayor, I do hereby proclaim that the city of Keene proudly honors the 2025 Keene High School boys basketball team for your remarkable season, their demonstrated resilience and teamwork, and their significant contribution to the spirit of our community. Thank you so much, guys. I have one of these for each of you. Jamal. Yeah, just, I don't know how you pass them around, but let's get these around. I think I've got enough for everyone. And if I don't, Coach, I will. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Ray, yeah. We always give somebody the honor of addressing us. Please, Ray.
Yeah, no, we just came from our banquet. It got pretty emotional over there, so we got by that, so it makes talking to you guys much easier. But the outreach from the city of Keene and the community was unbelievable. I would have guys from the 92 team texting me. I had, obviously, Mayor Khan reach out, but the sport has been unbelievable. But it started back in December with our fundraising, and just throughout the year, we always had the support we needed from the city of Keene, and we just wanted to bring it home for you guys so bad. So, maybe next year we'll bring it back for you guys. But thank you so much for the support.
Thank you for what it is. Thank you, guys. Okay. Pleasure. Yeah. Jamal. Yeah, thank you. Great season. See you again. Yeah. Two more? Did we lose two? I don't. Oh, Ray.
Yes.
Here's one more. Okay. One team down, one team to go. I'd like to ask Coach Bill Gillard, and Bill, if you could bring your team forward. This is a team that at the state championships for Division I boys wrestling took third place, and at the Meet of Champions the following week they took fourth place. And there's some individual exceptional performances that I'll recognize in a moment here. So on behalf of the city of Keene, whereas the Keene High School boys wrestling team achieved an exceptional, successful season, demonstrating remarkable skill, dedication, and sportsmanship, and marking historic milestones for the team. Whereas this season has truly been historic, with the team celebrating 2 individual champions at the New Hampshire Meet of Champions, a feat not achieved since 1998, and boasting 3 wrestlers reaching 100 career victories, a milestone unseen since the mid-1980s. And adding to this season's accolades, head coach Bill Gillard, Bill, math teacher, was named Division I's Wrestling Coach of the Year, a testament to his leadership and the collective efforts of his assistant coaches, Ian Spencer, is Ian here? In the back, Carter Spencer, Jeff Johnson, Mark Trubiano, I know Mark's here, and Kyle Higgins. Good job, folks. And whereas senior Carter Trubiano, Carter achieved an impressive career record of 126 wins and 45 losses. His accomplishments include 3 Division I place winners, 3 times New England qualifiers, 6th place at the 2023 New England Wrestling Championships at 126 pounds, and 1st place at the 2025 New Hampshire Meet of Champions at 126 pounds. Quite an achievement, Carter. I don't see Evan here, but whereas Evan Ray, and Evan stands out, because Evan achieved a remarkable 108 and 22 career record, including 3 Division I championships, 3 from his sophomore year forward. 1st place at the 2024 Meet of Champions at 285 pounds. 4th place at the 2024 Lowell Holiday Invitational Tournament as well. And whereas senior Peyton Gowell, Peyton compiled an amazing record of 129 wins and 45 losses during his 4 years wrestling at Keene High School. He earned 4 times a Division I place in the championships. He was 5th place in the 2023 Meet of Champions at 132 pounds, 4th place at the 2024 Lowell Invitational at 132 pounds. I saw him win again and again, and then lose a heartbreaker at the Division I championships. And whereas Leo Runez, Leo, he's the young guy on the team. Only a sophomore, and you might remember his sister, Lily, that we honored about 7 months ago. But Leo achieved a notable 76-18 record in 2 years, earning this year 3rd place in the Division I 2025 Division I championships at 144 pounds, and then 1st place at the 2025 Meet of Champions at the same weight class, becoming the first sophomore to win the Meet of Champions since 1985, and I believe you were the outstanding wrestler at that tournament. Yeah, pretty incredible. These individual accomplishments combined with the team's collective success, including the 3rd place finish in Division I, 4th place finish in the Meet of Champions, stand as a testament to the hard work, dedication, and talent of this entire team and its coaching staff. Therefore, I, as mayor, do hereby recognize and commend the Keene High School boys wrestling team and the coaches for their exceptional 2024-2025 season. Their accomplishments highlight the value of youth sports programs beginning at the elementary and middle school years, making our local student athletes more competitive on the statewide and New England stage. Congratulations, guys. Good luck next year, and to those guys who are graduating, thanks for 4 years of exciting wrestling at Keene High School. Coach?
Thank you, Mayor Khan. Thank you, everybody. I guess just a couple things. One thing that's unique about wrestling, which we recognize individual accomplishments, but it's as much a team sport as it is an individual sport, because when you're in the practice room, you can't wrestle yourself. So your success and your growth as a wrestler is as much, a tip of the hat to you as in terms of your work ethic, but also to your partners, your wrestling partners in the room. And so that's what made this team great and will make this team great for years to come. So when we placed 3rd at Division I's, 11 of the 14 weight classes we had wrestlers that placed in the top 6. And so it was a huge team effort, one of the best team efforts we've seen in a long time. And it also, you know, the same thing is true about coaching, right? Like it's the entire coaching staff that makes the team do well. And not just the coaches at the high school, but at the middle school and elementary school as well. The girls' middle school team just placed second at the Girls New England's 2 weekends ago, which is a pretty outstanding accomplishment. We have some fantastic female wrestlers coming up, some fantastic female wrestlers on our team, but also some fantastic female wrestlers coming up from the middle school. So that program is really growing and thriving. And there's a huge amount of community support, so we really appreciate recognition for the athletes and their work on nights like this. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Coach. Congratulations, Tom. Thanks for coming. We're happy to demonstrate the coaching. Yeah, thank you. Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, no. Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. Now moving from the team to the one and only Tom Mullins. Would you please join me?
You had to put me up tonight. Very hard to do.
Tom, you're gonna love this.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Tom Mullins began his career with the city of Keene as the city attorney appointed by the city council on February 11th, 2008, after years of private practice to our benefit. And whereas Tom has helped guide the city council, our charter officers, boards and commissions, department heads, and city staff through a wide variety of specialized legal concerns, answering our questions, never commenting on the quality, articulating the legal basis for his recommendations, advising on best practices, and the ramifications of actions by city representatives, offering alternatives and innovative solutions in the most economical and efficient, Yankee-minded manner possible, all while operating under the highest ethical standards. And whereas with his wealth of knowledge and experience, his impartial and even-handed approach, his commitment to effective problem solving, and his clear and thorough communications, Tom earned respect and helped all understand the needs, requirements, and processes that the city must follow to be successful in its mission as it relates to local, state, and federal laws to protect the city's legal interests. And whereas Tom provided both advice and recommended actions in a comprehensive and comprehensible manner, explaining both sides of an issue with the proper amount of detail, defining what is known, as he's quoted William Rumsfeld any number of times, defining what we know we don't know, and what we don't know what we don't know. Defining what is, providing us with options along the way to assist the council to make informed decisions for long-term trends and work proactively to navigate issues to avoid a problem ever making it to the council level. And whereas Tom assisted not only the city with many complicated and challenging projects such as federal New Market tax credit programs for the library expansion, the Keene Ice Project, the county courthouse, projects vital to the economic vitality of our downtown and our city, to name just three, along with helping us all better prepare with more confidence other difficult decisions and situations such as right-to-know laws and First Amendments and COVID rules, and along the way provided input to the State Municipal Association, the state legislature in Concord, and even to some challenging state senators along the way. And whereas his excellent team of senior paralegal Barbara DiNapoli, assistant city attorney and current city attorney Amanda Palmera, Tom consistently accomplished specific goals to keep the city current, efficient, transparent, and compliant and he served as a strong partner to support innumerable challenges, opportunities, complex projects, and priorities, all while advocating for the best interests of the organization, the community, and the taxpayers, and his important contribution to the community will have a lasting impact. And whereas his door was always open, he was always willing to listen and talk through the most difficult of situations. I hope you're still on the other end of the phone. Welcoming concerns, ideas, and constructive criticism, had productive relationships with city officials, staff, and the public, and when viewpoints differed, moved forward in a respectful and productive manner, and participated in community events and organizations with a friendly, outgoing spirit. Whereas Tom retired as a full-time charter officer of the city on February 29th, 2024, but continued to serve as city attorney in a part-time capacity until February 28th, 2025, completing a total of 17 years of honorable service to the city. Now, therefore be it resolved that this City Council of Keene hereby extends its sincere thanks to Tom Mullins for his dedication to the city and wishes him the very best for his retirement years, and may that be inscribed on a plaque for your wall to go along with that beach scene and the beach chair that I'm sure you still have in your home.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just a couple of words. I've never been known to be soft-spoken, so probably everybody can hear me. I would like to say that Patty has the distinction of being the longest-sitting clerk in the history of the city. And I think I have the distinction of being the longest retiring city attorney in the city. But it has been a wonderful opportunity to do this. I really do thank the council many years ago for offering me this position and having the confidence in me to do it. I thank that council. I thank all of you, members of the city council, and the councilors that I've served with before, the mayor, the former mayors that I served with, also the city manager, and the city managers I've served with before, all excellent people, and the city clerk and the city clerk that I served with. So, but they're all wonderful folks. And I have to tell you, the city is really well served. There's a lot of staff people back in the room, department heads, employees here. You really are blessed to have such good people. You know, the residents of this city really should understand how well the city operates, under the management of the city manager and the rest, and with you all. So I really challenge you going forward. It's going to be probably a difficult few years coming up, but to please remember that it really is the staff and the employees of this city that make it all happen. So thank you to them. Thank you to the folks that came out tonight. I'm really going to miss you all. It's only been 3 weeks at this point since I've been retired, and I really want to. Who are all you people again? But thank you very much.
Not easily forgotten.
Pleasure. Thank you, Amanda. You'll be great. Patty, Mitch. I'll see you on Tuesday. March 19th. March 9th. That's my new granddaughter's birthday. Oh, that's right. Thank you very much. Thank you for hiring me.
The one left.
We'll see you at the theater. I know, right? Yeah, I know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Okay. I'd like to recognize the city clerk for nominations to be approved this evening.
This evening, we have the mayor's nomination for an Andy Holt to serve as an alternate on the Bicycle Pedestrian Path Advisory Committee. This is an unexpired term that will end December 31, 2025.
I'd like to recognize Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Move to confirm the nomination.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Bosley. This will take a roll call.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Move on to Section C, Communications.
We have several communications this evening, and we'll start off with the annual request for use of city property. This is for the 4 on the 4th road race, and it's from Pathways for Keene.
And we'll refer that request to Planning Licenses and Development Committee.
A second communication, again, an annual event here in the city. It's the Pride Festival. It's a request for use city property, and it is for September 21.
Likewise, refer that to Planning Licenses and Development Committee.
Our third communication is from Carl Jacobs. You might recall that he wrote the council, I think it might have been last fall, about a peace pole in Central Square, and he just wants to pick up that conversation again with the council.
And we'll refer Carl's letter to the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee.
And the next two are communications from Councilor Jones. The first is asking for the city to consider the drafting of a resolution in honor of LGBTQIA+ community.
And we'll refer that to Planning Licenses and Development Committee.
And also, Councilor Jones is looking for the city to write a communication to the state of New Hampshire about the proposed roundabout at Route 9 at Whitcomb's Mill Road.
And that'll be referred to the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee. So agendas are building for April. Moving on to Section D, reports from the City Council committees.
And we'll start off with the Planning Licenses and Development Committee. Their first item is another community event, an annual event for the city. It is the discharge of fireworks for the Independence Eve celebration. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends granting the Keene Swamp Bats permission to discharge display fireworks on Thursday, July 3rd at Alumni Field no later than 10 p.m. A rain date will be coordinated with city staff in case of inclement weather. The approval is contingent upon the following: the signing of a revocable license and identification agreement, providing a certificate of liability insurance for both the Keene Swamp Bats and the fireworks vendor, each listing the city of Keene as an additional insured with coverage of $1 million, submitting a signed letter of permission from SAU for the use of their property, and obtaining a state fireworks permit. Additionally, the petitioner must comply with any recommendations from city staff and cover any city services exceeding the funding allocated in the FY26 community events budget. Payment for these services must be made within 30 days of invoicing.
I'd like to recognize Counselor Jones for a motion.
I move the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Madison. Counselor Jones for the committee.
Thank you. Yes, we did hear from Amanda Young, representing the Keene Swamp Bats. This is their annual request to discharge fireworks. There's no changes in the footprint. They've met all protocol. It was very interesting, and I have to give Councilor Williams credit. He stepped outside the box and asked the petitioner if there's anything that we can do to help keep our policy going. And I thought, thank him for doing that. That was an exceptional example of the way we work with the public.
Thank you, Counselor. If there are any questions, comments from counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion carries, and we wish the Swamp Bats well. Hopefully it'll take place July 3rd, and if not, the rain date is July 4th.
Our second report, again from Planning Licenses and Development, is a request to serve alcohol as a component of a sidewalk cafe for Birdies. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that Birdies be granted permission to serve alcoholic beverages in connection with their sidewalk cafe license. subject to the customary licensing requirements of the council, compliance with any requirements of section 461191 through 1196 of the city code, and compliance with any requirements of the New Hampshire Liquor Commission. And the license will expire March 1 of 2026.
Recognize Counselor Jones for motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the intent of the committee report.
And I second.
Seconded by Counselor Madison. Counselor Jones for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we did hear from the owner of Birdie's, Beth Wood. Birdie's is now where Chaos and Kindness used to be, down on Main Street. As you all know, most of these, annually, these petitions, these requests are done by staff, but because it's a new one, it goes to city council. It met all requirements and protocol, and we approved the license.
Thank you. Comments, questions from the counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor of the committee report? Motion carries unanimously.
Our third communication, and I believe the mayor is going to be intending to take the next three together because they are related. The first one is from the farmers market. It's their annual request for city property for the farmers market. The second one are two vendors that do need to have governing bodies' permissions as a requirement of the State Liquor Commission. The first one would be from Copper Cannon Distillery, and the second one from Cabana Falls. I also understand an amendment is coming forward on the first one, which is the main licensed farmers market. So I'll read it, and then I think the mayor's going to be looking for a motion to amend it. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends permitting the farmers market of Keene to use 22 parking spaces along Gilboa Ave and 18 spaces on the opposite side of the median strip in the Commercial Street parking lot from Saturday, April 26th to Saturday, October 25th. This approval is contingent upon the following: submission of a certificate of liability insurance for $1 million listing the city of Keene as an additional insured, execution of a standard revocable license and indemnification agreement, payment of a total rental fee of $932 with monthly installments of $155 due on the first day of each month, access to city electrical service for a seasonal fee of $60, obtainment of all necessary permits and licenses, comply with all applicable laws, and adhere to any recommendations of staff. Additionally, it's recommended that the farmers market be permitted to place sandwich board signs on city property before sales begin, subject to city staff review and approval regarding quantity and placement. The signs must be removed immediately after sales conclude. Sort of the complimentary report is about Copper Cannon Distillery. Again, they are looking to be a participant in the farmers market. That recommendation is, on a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that Copper Cannon Distillery be granted permission to sell alcohol and provide individual product samples to patrons of the 2025 Keene Farmers Market on city property licensed to the Keene Farmers Market in accordance with the requirements from the State Liquor Commission. Said permission is contingent on us submitting a signed letter of permission from the farmers market, obtaining all necessary permits and licenses, in compliance with all laws. And our third one is, on a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends that the Cabana Falls Winery be granted permission to sell alcohol and provide individual product samples to patrons at the 2025 Keene Farmers Market on city property licensed to the Keene Farmers Market in accordance with the requirements of the State Liquor Commission. Said permission is contingent on the following: submitting a signed letter of permission from the Keene Farmers Market, obtaining all necessary permits and licenses, compliance with all laws.
I'd like to recognize Counselor Jones for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We condensed three into one motion because we thought Mike Remy would like that. That being said, I move the intent of the committee report.
Second.
With an S on that. Seconded by Counselor Filio. Counselor Jones for an amendment.
Thank you. This was something that a question that was asked at the committee level, but it wasn't part of the original request. But we told them they could come back to staff during the week and put their request in. They wanted to know about putting in porta-johns, and we told them they could do it, but it would have to meet our standards as far as security and maintenance and so on. And so Motion is moved to amend the committee report on the annual license for the farmer's market to allow for placement of a portable toilet at the licensee's expense to be available during the operation of the market and for the duration of their license. Licensee must comply with the recommendations of city staff, and a portable toilet is subject to removal if directed by city staff.
Second.
So we have an amendment on the floor, moved by Counselor Jones and seconded by Counselor Madison. Any comments, questions on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of the committee amendment? I'm sorry, of Counselor Jones' amendment. Motion carries unanimously. Back to the main motion as amended, approving all three of these licenses as requested and recommended by the committee. Seeing no further questions, comments, all those in favor? These licenses are approved. Counselor Remy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the next one, I have a stated conflict. I don't
Yes.
know if the board wants me to step away or not. It's not a financial implication for this one, but I just want to make sure I'm on the board for King Young Professionals Network. I want to make sure that folks are aware of that. I'm happy to sit in the audience. I think you guys are capable of solving this one without me, but I leave it to the group.
Thank you. Any objection to Counselor Remy refraining from participation in this discussion? Seeing none, you're welcome. I don't think you need to disappear. Okay. We have a recommendation from the committee. Counselor Jones for a motion.
Do let me read the report for us.
Okay.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to the request to use city property for the Taste of Keene Food Festival. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning License and Development Committee recommends granting the Keene Young Professionals Network permission to use downtown city rights-of-way on Saturday, June 7th for a food festival, subject to the following. Submission of a certificate of liability insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the city of Keene as an additional insured. Execution of a standard revocable license and identification agreement. Agreement by the petitioner to cover any city service costs exceeding the allocated city funding, with payment due within 30 days of invoicing. Permission for the petitioner to place porta potties in city parking spaces at the base of Washington Street and on Railroad Street from Friday, June 6th to Monday, June 9th. These units must be secured to prevent vandalism when unattended overnight. Additional porta potties may be placed in the alley between the former Miller Brothers building and the Colonial Theater with the consent from private property owners. Permission to serve alcoholic beverage samples for consumption within the event footprint in accordance with the terms of a one-day license from the New Hampshire Liquor Commission and any conditions set by city staff. Submission of signed letters of permission from private property owners for any use of their property, compliance with all requirements, permits, licenses, applicable laws, and any recommendations of staff. This event footprint and layout shall include the traveled portions of Central Square, both sides of Main Street from Central Square to Emerald Street and Eagle Court, and part of Railroad Street. Road closures may also extend to other streets as necessary for detour routes, with final closure and detour plans determined by city staff. The event will take place from 11:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. with setup and cleanup times to be coordinated with staff. Free parking is granted under the city's free parking policy with designated spaces on Washington Street and Railroad Street for equipment storage from Friday, June 6th to Monday, June 9th, as well as for spaces within the event footprint on the day of the festival.
Now, we can recognize Counselor Jones for a motion.
Thank you. I've moved the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Madison. Counselor Jones for the committee.
This is a request from a nice gentleman named Michael Remy asking us for an event sponsored by the Keene Young Professionals. This is another repeat event that they've been doing for a few years now. This was actually born out of COVID, or the original COVID committee asked for this, and the Keene Young Professionals stepped up and took the bull by the horn, and we thank them for that. There's no changes in protocol or in the footprint, and we look forward to having this festival.
Great. Any Comments, questions from counselors? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the motion as presented? We have a unanimous vote, 14-0.
Planning License and Development Committee report relative to the potential implementation of a consent agenda by committee for city council meetings. On a vote of 4-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends directing charter officers to investigate and present to the city council a plan for development and potential implementation of a consent agenda format for city council meetings.
And recognize Counselor Jones for a motion.
I would move the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Madison. Counselor Jones?
This was well done. This was a request that came to the committee to discuss the possibilities of consent agenda in order to streamline things, the way we do business. I thought the committee did a good job. They had a lot of questions about potential policy and so on. Instead of putting it on more time, which would have just brought it back to us, they asked to send it to the full council and ask them if they want to continue with doing this. So I thought it was the right thing to do, and we're looking for opinions tonight as to whether you want to continue with discussing a consent agenda or not.
Thank you. Yes, we'll recognize Counselor Remy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I wanted to give a little context to this. I don't know if this is the right thing to do or not. It's just something where I wanted us to have a conversation around it. We actually did try this the last meeting in December, where we took a lot of the committee actions that were happening and grouped them together and took them as one motion. Instead of necessarily reading the entirety of the motion, we were reading headers with a little bit more description potentially. I think we did pretty well at that one. It was a little bumpy, but it was the first time we've ever tried it. It triggered me to say, I think we should investigate more if this is something we can go to. The reason for it is, I mean, just similar to what we just did, right? We just did it with 3 motions. We probably could have done some stuff with some practice to figure out how to make those easier so Patty didn't have to read, 17 paragraphs on each one. I think there's some things we could do there. A good idea that was brought up in the committee was the idea that the committee could decide at the end of their meeting which ones to group together. I thought that was a really novel way to handle it so that the staff didn't have to try to say these 3 should go together and these 3 should go together, that the council still has that control. For me, it's not as much about the reports coming in, it's the stuff coming out of committee, because we end up with a lot of 15-0 votes on stuff that's not controversial. The example I gave at the meeting was we voted on lining sewer manholes and lining sewer lines in the same meeting. I think we probably all would have voted for those together and not had a problem. But if somebody really had a problem with lining sewer manholes, they could have raised the issue and said, I want to talk about that one separately. It's taken out of the consent agenda. So with practice, I think we get good at it. I think it's worth investigating more. That's why I put it forward. That's what this ask is for, is to say, like, I want to get the will of the council on it. If 8 of us don't want to do it, then let's stop here. I don't want to waste the staff's time trying to figure something out if 8 people don't want to do it. So that's really the point of it. Thank you.
Counselor Filio, then Counselor Greenwald.
Thank you. Even though I, respect that we want to move council meetings on faster some nights, I think I stand in opposition to this. This is another one of these issues I look at where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Because as we've seen, we still can pull a few things together, such as the farmer's market, if the clerk recommends it. My problem was, we might know what's going on. We look at it, we have the reports, like, let's move this on and get out of here. But the public doesn't know. They're gonna sit out there and we're just gonna blow through things and they're gonna be like, what the hell are they talking about? Or those that watch it on television at home. What did they just do? So yeah, it takes longer. Government sometimes isn't pretty and it takes a lot longer when you gotta do it right. But for our constituents, we need to slow down and explain sometimes what the heck we're doing. I mean, we know some nights we get into the last couple of meetings, for example, we kind of get in the mud and some nights we don't know what we're doing. Well, you can imagine what it looks like on the outside. So I understand that sometimes we want to speed up the process, but going faster isn't necessarily always better. Let's just slow it down and just do it right. Councilor Greenwald and Councilor Jones, remember back in the day, we didn't get out of here till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, every meeting. And now we're usually out of here an hour and a half. We can do an hour and a half twice a month and not speed things up. We're good. Let's not fix what's not broken.
Counselor Greenwald.
Thank you. So in the interest of information and transparency, I agree with what Council Filio is saying. However, I won't say it 3 times. That'll speed up the meeting. So I am, all right, so I should sit down and stop blubbering. Back in my early days, we did not go to the committee chair to explain the motions even. It was just the heading, all in favor, boom, voted. Public didn't know what was going on. I think we've got a good compromise, and if we can group issues together as we did tonight, I think that'll accomplish the same thing.
Counselor Haas and Counselor Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I think what we did tonight from the city clerk of grouping the farmer's market items together is exactly the direction we want to go in. So I think we're just looking for more direction and motivation to do more things like that where we can. Not to break everything out and not discuss them or not advertise them, not brag about them when they happen, but to put the common things together. The example that Councilor Remy gave and then the example of the farmer's market are perfect ones. So I think that this is something in some direction. We're not looking to pass anything tonight or judge anything. We're just looking to get some idea of the consensus of opinion here. Thank you.
Counselor Tobin.
Thank you. In my early days of the council, I did not really understand how things worked and how things went back to, they came to the council, then went back to the committee, then came back to the council. That was not very clear to me. And so one of the things when Councilor Remy brought this up, one of the first things I did was actually go and look at our YouTube channel and see what the views were on city council versus committee meetings. It was much higher for city council meetings, which would just suggest that maybe that's where people are getting more of their information. And I do think that it is important to consider that, explain that, and I would be open to exploring more options about ways to combine motions like the ones concerning the farmer's market. I also would want to make sure that it's understood that those decisions are separate, because I think sometimes people think that government is something that happens to them, and I want people to really understand how they can participate in the process.
Thank you. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know over the years, we have tried to streamline things and move things along. There are things that we've done along the way. We used to do 15 sidewalk cafe licenses every year. We took that away. That's done in the clerk's office now. Lodging house licenses, we don't do those anymore. They go to a special committee. The CIP, we do it every other year now. We're working our way to streamlining and getting things moving along. But just thinking about what Randy said earlier about sometimes with the public not understanding, we had a vote a couple weeks ago about master boxes, and every one of us here knew what we were talking about, but I got a phone call the next day asking me, what was that all about? And sometimes things get lost in the translation. So sometimes it's good to have a full explanation.
Yep. Thank you. Counselor Favelis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quickly, want to say typically I'm in favor of kind of moving things forward so that we have something, right, that we can vote up or down on. In this case, I think I don't feel strongly enough about support for a consent agenda that I think that the committee or staff should be spending as much time as is going to have to be spent on this. Councilor Jones at the PLD meeting alluded to, just like one of the questions, right? Who decides what gets on the consent agenda? Is it a vote of the committee? Does the mayor put it on there? Does it have to be a unanimous vote of the committee to get it on the consent agenda? Does everybody have to be present at the committee meeting? The morass that I can see the committee and staff getting stuck in here is not worth it for me, and I am going to be voting against this tonight. But I do think, associate myself with some of the comments that if we can group together on the floor motions that make sense to put together, I don't see anything wrong with that. So I guess if there's some direction to the mayor and clerk, I think the council likes what happened tonight. I'm just not willing to have the committee and staff spend more time on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, sometimes I feel like I still don't understand what goes on here. But I do support this motion. It's worth having a conversation at least about how we can streamline these meetings. Something I've learned in the last few months is I've been talking to people who are interested in running for this seat in the fall, because I'm not running again. Not sure if I've mentioned that. Is that their biggest concern is the time commitment. And I've told them it varies. There are some meetings we come in here and yeah, we're out in an hour or an hour and a half. There's other times we come in here and we're not out for 3 hours. Then you have committee meetings. Just to give you an example, for this week, tomorrow after work, that will be the first time in a week and a half that I am not actively engaged in either council business or work. Just this week, I've had 2 3-hour meetings earlier in the week, and I would say the bulk of it was fluff. People mentioning who lives on streets, who lived there in 1974. Do you know this person from 1974? No, I don't. You know, I think there's ways that we can streamline this, not just for ourselves, but also for citizens who come to these meetings and are waiting for specific items to come up, who don't want to sit and listen to us go through several items that could easily be grouped together. Or city staff who have put in a full day of work and now they're here at 8 o'clock listening to me ramble on. So that being said, I'll end my rambling and sit back down.
And Counselor Madison, you are exceptional in chairing one of our commissions and serving on another commission, and that is not the expectation of all counselors, thank goodness. But your service has been exceptional. Don't start that ball rolling with other counselors. Not a good thing. I've spent some time with our charter officers talking about this. I think whether we vote in favor of this motion or we don't vote in favor of this motion, I think that the topic has made an impact, and that I think we all recognize there are things that can be done, whether it comes from the committee level and the chair is organizing the presentation of their motions, or it comes from our agenda review to acknowledge that some of these things are routine and we can combine them. I'd also point out that some of the things that seem so routine, like gift items, do need to be accepted by the council, and it's just a requirement. We've got to do it because it's money coming to the city. We may not want to accept donations under some circumstance, so that is something that needs to happen. And anytime we spend money, we could maybe combine sewer fund motions into one, but spending money beyond what was previously approved in the budget is something that needs approval. We can add more wisdom to this, and I think the point's been made well, that let's try to do that.
Yep. Happy to.
Okay, we have a motion before us to carry out the intent of the committee report, which is to ask our charter officers to investigate this. So if you think that there are other alternatives than to ask our charter officers, you would vote against this. If you think that you want to charge the charter officers to come back with recommendations at some future date, you'll vote in favor of this. All right, do we need a roll call, or we just show of hands?
Yep.
Show of hands. All those in favor of the committee report as presented?
1, 2, 3.
We have 6 in favor. All those opposed? 2, 4, 5, 8, 9 opposed. Councilor Remy.
Thank you, and I'm glad that the point of it was to have the conversation, right? I don't have any heartburn over it not going through. That was exactly the point of it, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Jones?
Thank you. I think we did accomplish something tonight just by the people, just by the councilors telling the mayor and the charter officers that they liked what we did with the farmer's market tonight. So I think you understand where we're trying to get, so thank you.
We do. And we will try to do better. And by the way, the conversation doesn't need to end. If somebody sees that something had failed to get combined and could have been, feel free to voice your opinion. Okay, moving on to finance items.
And our first one is actually an informational report from the Finance Organization Personnel Committee. They had an update of the staff's response to a concern from a downtown business employee about employee parking.
Counselor Powers?
Information.
It's just informational, sorry. It's filed as informational.
Next one also from Finance Organization and Personnel. It's about the future development of the Black Brook Tax Increment Finance District. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to negotiate a development plan and tax increment financing plan regarding parcels in the Black Brook Corporate Park Tax Increment Financing District. As part of any plans, the city manager may explore whether it is beneficial to enlarge the area of the development district to include additional parcels.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers?
Thank you, Your Honor. So what we're going to do here, if we pass this, and I hope we do, is we're going to give some work to the city manager and her staff. And they will be back with a proposal that will be very beneficial to the city. Most of us have some understanding of how that works, but some of the details of Black Brook are pretty interesting, and we've kind of forgotten it because it's 25 or more years since Sims built one little building, and the next thing you knew, it bloomed and bloomed and bloomed and bloomed. The nice part of what that was put together is the area that was included in the proposal is much greater than what's built on right now. There's 427 acres out there in that plot. That property was valued at $47 million when it first was put into the plan, and it's now assessed at $110 million. So you see the principle here. We're trying to build a program and develop a program that people will come in, be able to get going. We can have the financing to do the infrastructure needs because they're going to rely on us for water and sewer. That's one of our best products. So please, this was unanimous by our committee. I'd ask you all to vote yes so that they can get together on looking at that present site and see what the possibilities are to regenerate the plan, and perhaps if they find while they're doing it, there's some other adjacent property or somehow that could be put in, they'll bring all that forward to us in the near future for us to vote on. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any front comments from committee members? Counselor? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, carrying out the committee report. Motion carries unanimously.
The next item, also Finance Organization and Personnel. It is a approval to accept donations solicited, accept and expend funds raised to support employee events and similar activities. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the manager be authorized to solicit and accept items donated to support fundraising or other activities related to employee events, accept and expend cash donations, accept and expend funds raised through fundraising activities, including raffles, conducted pursuant to NHRSA 287-A in support of such events.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers?
Thank you, sir. This, too, is something that we've seen in the past, and the reason it's a little longer and a little more descriptive this time, it includes perhaps some raffles that have gone on in the past that may not always have been pulled together in the proper fashion. We want to make sure we're doing things right. This is an internal operation when I say raffles. But the real purpose here is to recognize the city employees and all counselors and retirees when it comes Christmas time and the nice little session we have down at Public Works. The fund is a little dry because cost of doing business has gone up considerably. So we're not talking about a big project here, but it's a little fundraising. It's handled by the HR department, and it's very beneficial, and it does the things we really want to do, is recognize our employees throughout the year in different ways, and then at Christmas time with an open house. And we unanimously approved it at FOP. I hope you do the same.
Thank you, Counselor. Any comments from folks? Seeing none, all those in favor of carrying out the committee report? Motion carries unanimously.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to an engineering agreement with McFarland Johnson, Inc. for the airport perimeter fence project. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute an agreement with McFarland Johnson, Inc. for engineering services associated with the airport wildlife perimeter fence project for an amount not to exceed $325,000.
Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Remy. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we're working down our list of things at the airport to get taken care of, and this wildlife perimeter fence has been on the list for quite some time, and it's a sizable project. So we have our engineering firm of record. They're specializing in airport business. So McFarland Johnson has presented a proposal to us to design this project and manage the project in the near future. And this contract will be $325,000 for that. Of that $325,000, 90% is coming from grants, 5% from the state, and 5%, which is $1,625 of the city's money to bring together a proposal that will be very beneficial in the long run down there. If you think about how much land is adjacent to the runway, and the last thing you want is some animals coming across there when we have activity. So, been on the list a long time, and it's coming to fruition. Finance voted unanimously. Hope you do the same.
Thank you, Counselor. Any comments from the committee? Counselor Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. More of a question for the city manager. Do we know, now that we're planning to go for these funds, has the final layout of the fence, the area it'll encompass, be determined? Or are we still waiting for that to be settled in the permitting phase?
I think there's,
We are getting new batteries for these mics. They are wearing out. I think they're still in the works as part of the permitting phase, but we do have our airport director here who can add to that.
Oops, mic died.
Mr. Hickling, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Dave Hickling, Airport Director. Thought it was on. Dave Hickling, Airport Director. What this phase of the project will be the design phase. What we did last time was environmental assessment, which we have done prior to the design phase. So this portion will do the layout of the fence. A lot of it was done preliminarily to get through the environmental assessment, but this will finalize the design.
Counselor Williams, Mr. Hickling, David, could you come back? I think we've got one more question delivered through the chair, but you're going to answer it.
Sorry, I was just hoping, could you confirm if the current fence design is going to leave the wetlands there more or less intact?
Right now, the design is along the airport safety area, or along the runway safety area, so it's away from the roadway.
Okay.
Excuse me, maybe you could tell us, what is the total amount appropriated for this?
For the entire project?
I mean, this is the design, yeah.
Yeah, for the design, it's that amount. So this is the design is, the contract with the engineer is the total part of this project, of this part of the project. So it'll be multi-phased. So when we do more work, we'll come back to the city council for those parts of the project.
Do we have that appropriation from the FAA to complete the project?
It'll be
after this is completed?
We do the grant application based on this action here. So we'll do the grant application, then we'll get the grant, then we'll award the contract.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Hickling? Seeing none, thank you. Any other questions, comments for the committee? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of carrying out the design and the intent of the committee report, the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to an engineering agreement with McFarland Johnson for the Airport Taxiway A reconstruction project. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute an agreement with McFarland Johnson, Inc. for the construction administration of the Taxiway A reconstruction project for an amount not to exceed $308,300.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers for the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, an airport project, taxiway A reconstruction. You know that we extended some runways back a number of years, and now we're back towards the terminal for some rework to the taxiway, heavily used area of that. And again, this is for the construction administration for this particular project, $308,300, 90% from an FAA AIP grant, 5% from the state, and 5% of the funds that are in the budget for the airport. Again, this was unanimously approved by FOP, and hope you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the committee, from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of carrying out the committee report? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
And our final committee report of the evening, it is from Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. It deals with the Community Power Plan. You will note that there's 2 recommendations on this report. I believe the mayor's intent is to handle them separately. So the first recommendation is on a vote of 3-2. The Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the next Community Power Plan electricity options have 4 levels. These levels would include the Keene Basic as an elective option with a minimum renewable energy content required by the state of New Hampshire, which is 25% total renewable energy. The Keene Green Local with 35% total renewable energy. The Keene 50 as the default option with 50% total renewable energy. And the Keene 100 as an elective option with 100% total renewable energy. The report continues on a vote of 4-1. The Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends that the Community Power Plan with amendments shown in the draft dated February 10th be adopted with a recommended revision to have a 4-level plan.
Councilor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to carry out the intent of the committee report, item 1.
Second.
The first one.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers for the committee.
So what we're doing here in 2 steps is we're updating the plan, and then we'll accept the plan if we update it or not in the second step, because this plan was developed by a number of people, not just our committee. Put a lot of time and energy into the plan, so that the amendments that we spent most of our time on, and will show in the bold of the plan you see, is to stick with 4 steps. 25% total renewable energy, the Keene Green Local at 35%, and Keene 50 as the default with 50% total renewable energy, and the Keene 100, that's an elective option with 100% total renewable energy. We've spent a lot of time trying to come to a solution that's acceptable, and a solution that would work out for everyone. And we tried, as we went through all this, to consider so many different things. I think if we were trying to deal with this 4 or 5 months ago, we might be looking at it a little bit differently, because times have changed, and funding sources and the ability to do business, it's just changed. But we're here now, and as a community, we put this plan together a number of years ago with the idea that we'd be at, in 2030 and 2035, at levels where we would be much cleaner from power production things, vehicle things, et cetera, et cetera. Very honorable position that we want to be in. I sure hope we're able to get there, but given what's happening to us, it's a little difficult for us to know that if we make any particular steps, that we're going to reach it. So we might have to say, we didn't quite meet that particular overall goal, but we also considered what's going on every day with energy and what the cost of doing business is. That's the next major element that we're looking at today, is even in small little chunks, these changes in the cost of doing business is really chewing away. And there are folks in the community that just can't afford that 0.2% or 2 cents when you start adding it up, particularly if you go to the grocery store. I have to throw that in. That's my thing. I mean, that's just an example of where we're going, the cost of doing business. So throughout all these discussions that came to us at the committee and at the committee, we came up with this proposal. 3 members support the thing as it comes forward to you, and 2 would like to see it a little bit differently. And I'm sure we're going to have an opportunity to talk it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. I expect we've got a hearty conversation. Counselor Filio.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to vote in favor of the committee report. We've joked over the years that we would say, oh, my phone rang off the hook back in the day. It usually meant 4 or 5 people get a hold of you. And I don't know about the emails that the rest of the council received, but my phone didn't blow up, my computer did. And basically, it was an overwhelming support from our constituents for this committee report. And they're the ones we listen to, and I fully intend on doing that tonight.
Thank you. Let's see, Counselor Workman.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm gonna just pull this card right now, but I'm going to make a motion to move to amend the motion currently on the floor to include only 3 tiers. Those tiers being 35%, 50%, and 100%, with the default tier being 35%. And the reason for this is pretty clear. Like Councilor Powers said, right now is not the time. We understand that this is a goal, and I don't want to discredit the work that the Energy and Climate Committee has done, or the work that the FOP Committee has done, or city staff. However, it's important to note that this is an optional increase, and I don't think we should be adding to folks' bottom line if we don't have to. This is a want, not a need. I also received all those emails. I was upwards of 35 when I checked last time. I read them all. I did not respond to them all because of time restraints. But the points in there, I hear them. I respect them. The folks who are able to contribute more, please continue to do so. But I don't think this is the correct method to get to the goal that we've set. So I'm looking for a second, again, to amend the motion to include 3 tiers with 35%, 50%, 100%, with the default being 35% tier.
Counselor Bowles, do you wish to speak to that?
I seconded. I'd be happy to speak.
I saw your hand go up. I'm not
It
trying to
did.
twist your arm.
That's fine. My hand went up in response to Councilor Filio's comments earlier, but I'm happy to speak about this. I think that I started a lot of this conversation at our previous council meetings. It became very clear to me through the process of discussing this that we needed to make some sort of compromise, and that my hope was that this would go back to FOP and we would come back with some resolutions.
and I don't see anything about the adder fee. I do believe it's being left into the plan so that it can be discussed in the future, but it's not on the table tonight, which I think is a partial compromise. But I think that the real issue that I have here is that this goal feels like we're trying to reach for that, and it's very admirable and aspirational. And I would love to think in 2019, when this goal was adopted, that a decade felt like a really long time. And I wasn't here to vote on it back then. But I can tell you that 5 years, it feels really like a huge hurdle. And in this climate that we're in, with this inflation, with these costs, to really put reaching this goal on the backs of people in the default rate doesn't feel in good conscience that I can do that. When I read through I was not able to make the FOP meeting, I was traveling with my family, but when I read through the minutes, it said 4% of people opted down, 2% of people opted to 100%, and 1% of people opted to 50%. That's 7% of people who did not leave the default rate. That's not because they probably even understand how the program works. It's because they were opted into Keene Community Power and they were opted into the default rate. We have not done a good job of educating them about what their options are and how to opt in and out of these plans. And they're too busy going to work every day to put food on their table to educate themselves on how to make the best financial decisions. When I was taught about the Keene Community Power Plan when it was being created, I was told that it was an opportunity for us to create a savings mechanism for the constituents in our community by buying power in volume. It was not made as an explanation to me that this was the only tool that we had to reach this one particular goal that we had set for ourselves prior to my being a counselor. And so I can't sit here tonight. In 2 years, I might change my mind. But I cannot sit here tonight and, in good conscience, on the backs of people who don't understand, increase their rates with the current situation that we're in. And I hope that everyone here can understand that.
Counselor Favelis and then Counselor Lake.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Rare for me, but I actually did pre-write some remarks tonight. I too have received the communications from folks across the community, some of my constituents, and so I want to be very clear about why I'm supporting this amendment and why I support 35% as the default rate. I also was not on council in 2019, believe it or not, but when the initial goals were adopted in 2019, the world was a much different place in a lot of different ways, but I wanted to put some actual hard numbers and statistics to what Councilor Powers, Councilor Bosley, and Councilor Workman have alluded to in terms of the costs facing people across the country, across the state, and right here in the community. 2019, the median home price in New Hampshire, according to the New Hampshire Association of Realtors, was $300,000. Right? Today it's pushing $600,000. A loaf of bread, Councilor Powers talked about groceries, a loaf of bread in 2019, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, national government statistics, it's 50% more expensive today than it was 6 years ago. And that number is about 300% more expensive for a dozen eggs. Our residents, ratepayers in this city, are being hit in so many different directions. I don't feel good about adding an additional punch to them right now. This doesn't mean that we're not making progress towards clean energy. It doesn't mean that we're not continuing to punch above our weight as a small rural community. The 35% default is still 10% above what we are required to have under state statute. It's 10% above the state minimum renewable portfolio. And I understand the want to get to 100%, but I by 2030, consistent with the original goals, but I fully agree with Councilor Bosley. We can't climb up to that by stepping over our constituents in the process. And I've heard some discussion, I just want to end with this, I've heard some discussion around this plan that, it's $8 additional extra dollars a month, or it's an increase of 80, and it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. I'm not going to look my constituent who's living on a fixed income, deciding between paying for prescriptions this month, paying for you know, clothes, food, transportation, and say, well, it's only $80 a month. I can't do it, I won't do it, I'll vote to support this amendment. And I think this is a way to strike a balance between continuing to move towards and support our clean energy goals and initiatives as a city and recognizing the economic situation that many of our constituents find themselves in. Thank you.
I just want to correct the number there to make clear. It would be $8 a month, $80 on for the year. And just want to make sure those. Okay. Councilman Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you might suspect, want to speak actually in opposition to this, but maybe for a slightly different reason than the council might expect. I actually just don't support getting rid of the 25% option. We've heard a number of councilors here speak to the fact that this may increase some costs for some individuals that are having a hard time. At the same time that we're trying to get rid of their cheapest option. I'm not sure I understand why we would do that if the concern here is cost. So on that alone, I do not support this motion, and I hope that we can, if we really do need to find some other compromise, that we can do so. But I don't think eliminating that option is the way forward. But I also want to speak more broadly to this idea of the costs for the average consumer. This plan has a resolution for those customers that cannot pay for those higher rates. Any person on this program at any time can opt out, they can opt down, they can go to Cheshire Community, right? We have other public options in the community that if they have a better rate, then they can go to those programs for free at any time. And so if I have a constituent that comes to me and says, I can't do this, I'm gonna give them the link to be able to opt out. It's very easy to do. If you get your bill and you say, this was too much, I can't keep doing this. Take your bill, go online, and opt out. It really is that simple to do. So for us to say that our constituents cannot handle this, we need to continue to be leaders in our community and work towards these energy goals. And we need to inform all of our constituents of what they can do in their situation. But this is only going to be successful if we do this at scale. And I worry that this amendment is going to undermine one of the important parts of this program. And so I'll be voting against this, and maybe we'll have some other amendments that'll come onto the floor. We can talk about those, but I don't think getting rid of the 25% is the way forward.
Councilor Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. That was really well said, Councilor Lake. We do need to keep the 25% option. What I'm really hearing here is that there's just kind of a lack of education about these programs and about the options available to our residents. And I think what we need to do is do a better job of making sure people are informed rather than simply hamstringing ourselves against reaching our goals. I really do appreciate the comments about people sticking with the default option, this potentially increasing the cost of the default option. Respectfully, I view the solution to that as being more outreach and education rather than changing it and taking away the cheapest option. And I appreciate the comments about wants versus needs in this climate. This climate where 100-year floods are now annual floods. This climate where our forests are burning. This climate where devastating hurricanes are happening several times a season. This climate where millions of our fellow citizens are facing climate-related disasters. So I would ask my fellow councilors to consider wants versus needs in this climate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Williams and Councilor Haas. Councilor Remy, yes?
Thank you. I just wanted to, Councilor Favolous compared some numbers from 2019 and today, so I wanted to compare some other numbers, which is the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in 2019 was about 407 parts per million, and today is 427 parts per million. So that's a lot. What are we going to do about this problem? What responsibility do we have to fix this problem of global warming? I think it's very important. I think we have a plan. I think we should stick with the plan. I do appreciate that there's an opportunity to opt out if people are having financial trouble meeting 50%. I totally understand that. There are good options. We should take proactive steps to make sure that people are educated of their options. If this change goes out, I would like to see mail going to every member of the plan saying, look, your default rate has changed. If you have a problem with this, this is exactly what you can do. Let's make it as easy as possible. But planet really is getting hotter, and we really do need to do something about it. And this is what we have. Let's do it.
Thank you. Councilor Haas and then Councilor Workman.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. The idea of us having a plan and following it, that's how we should go forward. The idea that these are hard times and they're special times, it's always hard times, it's always special. You sit here 5 years ago, you sit here 10 years ago, you said the same thing. Any of the documents we've read from the past on other council meetings, you see that always goes on, and there's missed opportunities along the way. My learned colleagues to my left and my right put it perfectly, that this is a communications issue. That we need to get communications. Now, I know a lot of people can't take on these communications, they can't go to meetings, and this just falls on them. And they don't have time, they just pay it. Well, we have to engage. We have to reach out to those people and make sure that they understand what's happening here and what their options are. And to retain the state-mandated minimum as a possibility is a great idea. That gives them that option that we can direct them to if they choose to be. To set the 50% as the default keeps us on our plan, keeps us where we want to be going, recognizes the issues. But more importantly to me is what makes Keene attractive. What we talked about the Taste of Keene, we talked about the farmers market, we talked about all of these other wonderful things that are out there. It's because we are aspirational. It's because that's what we drive for in this community. We're not just ordinary, oh, I can't spend a penny here, I can't spend a penny there. We're aspirational. We want to be something more important than just ordinary, run-of-the-mill, cut it to the lowest budget. So I appreciate that. I'll be voting against this amendment and then voting in favor of the committee report, which keeps us on track for where we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you,
Be
Councilor.
aspirational.
Thank you, Councilor. I'm going to keep going with people who have not spoken. Councilor Chadbourne, Councilor Greenwald.
So, I never write out what I'm gonna say, and I wrote it out tonight, and it's like, after listening to everybody, I'm like, I need a new script, you know? But, let me just first start. I voted against both of the motions at the committee level, and I was in favor of actually keeping the 4 tiers, which was part of the first motion, but I was not in favor of the default option being 50%. And then on the second one, which was 4-to-1, I just had to maintain consistency because that enforced the first motion. So I wanted to explain that for people who weren't aware of it, so they understood where I stand. Yeah, I'm really proud of this community because we are very engaged. We care deeply about one another and about our community, which includes the environment. And we set very lofty goals. We've been part of, these vision meetings, and then the master plan, the initial master plan. Maybe not initials. I think there's been several before that too. And now we're actually revisiting the master plan and rewriting it. And to loosely quote John Lennon, life is what happens when you're making plans. And so we made this plan in 2019, but it's important to be flexible and to sometimes change things. And I think we can still accomplish our goals, but perhaps not within the 5 years of 2030. I suggest that we adjust the goalpost and, put it out a little bit, maybe another 5 years from 2030 to 2035, given what's going on the larger, the world scene, as well as the national scene and the state. And let's see, sorry, these are for distance. So what I wanted to say was just that, there's so many major fluctuations in the market, and people are worrying about their day-to-day lives and how they'll meet the challenge of stretching the dollar to cover the basics. I think it's actually in the best interest of keeping the 4, but I would go with the 3. I don't agree with the default being the 50%, and I didn't do a great job explaining it, but when I was talking about the chuck tax last time, it's something that miffed a lot of people, and it was like the 3rd charge that we added to registering a car as a way to, increase our money without taxation. And I'm thinking as an example of this young family, moved to Keene 2 years ago, rented an apartment, bought a house in June, 4 kids, young family, 38, I think. And we were just talking about city business one day, and I started talking about this plan. And she didn't know it. She got Eversource, she signed up for it, and she didn't realize it. So then she looked at her bill, and I went through the bill with her, and she's like, oh. And then I explained, the other options, and she ended up switching to Eversource because it was, less money. She's got a family of 4, and they both work, the 2 adults. And so I absolutely agree, and it was one of the suggestions I was going to make, was that there needs to be more, we need to inform people, because the last thing we want is for people to be miffed, like they, with all these little, like, I didn't realize that I got opted, or the default was this, and now I'm paying this amount, and I could have been paying that amount. And so there needs to be better literature, maybe, that gets included with the first bill. I don't really know. But I would support the 3rd. I think the default should be the lowest one. And again, if the default is a 50, I understand the reasoning for it, because we want to reach the goals that we set for ourselves as a city. And I'm suggesting we change the goalpost. Thank you.
And Councilor Greenwald.
Okay, it's about education. I think we've said it repeatedly, and I think that's very, very clear. If you want 100%, you go up. If you want not, you go down. The concern over $8 a month is very laudable. I can't wait for May, when we're doing the city budget, and tax increases are coming. $8 a month, good luck.
Councilor Roberts, there's still first times. I want to get the city manager in at some point, because I think there's a question as to about the education program. I'd like to hear from her. Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've been sitting here listening to everybody, and nothing happens in a vacuum. And I hear people, a lot of them, they're saying in different silos. And these silos cross over. We talk about renewable energy, 100%. Well, I was living in California when California went to that. So people says, I'm going to pay 3 cents extra kilowatt to get 100% renewable energy from the power place in Oregon who uses water. Well, guess what? Just because they put that 100% renewable in the line doesn't mean it comes to California, because you have about a 10% energy loss when you're going through the lines. So we can be paying for 100%, and you may get electricity that has no renewable whatsoever. Or we may be paying 50%, and when they buy it, they might have bought a bunch from Quebec and would get more renewable than we thought we were going to do. We talk about the average person. What is the average person? When we go and say the house went from $300,000 to $600,000. If I just bought a house for $600,000, who cares about the price of electricity? I've got the money to pay for it. Someone can go, hey, what about the people on the bottom? Well, the people on the bottom, there are different programs that help them pay for the electric bill. There are a lot of people on electricity subsidies in the city. Okay? So we can go on and on, but we cannot send right here and say, who in effect does this hurt or help the most? The third one is we have to be really careful because people could be switching every 6 months. Well, I got a better deal because when we were talking about this, I got 4 postcards asking me to buy my electricity through these different companies that were giving me a lower rate than what the city or the county would be giving. So if I take this 6-month one, then 6 months later, I jump to the other company, and the other company. So if people keep jumping from one program to another, chasing the lowest cost, us trying to buy electricity when we can't guarantee the seller how many people we're going to have, that's going to cause our costs to go up. So you end up getting in a vicious circle. And finally, we talk about climate change. Climate change is coming, plain and simple. There's nothing we can do about it. We talk about the different floods and everything. So the question is, who is it going to affect? My house got flooded out in the last big flood in 2005, okay? But when you look at it, my house getting flooded out and the area where I live getting flooded out was well worth the cost that benefited the overall community. So that is going to happen. The other part is who's going to pay for the infrastructure that's required to handle these big deluges. We've been lucky. We haven't been Vermont over the last 2 years. The last 2 years, Vermont has been wiped out in a number of occasions because they just had a massive runoff of rainfall. Go to the Connecticut River and see how high the Connecticut River is right now. You think Ashwilla is high, the Connecticut is high. When you go to the bridge from New Hampshire into Vermont, that little island is almost gone. That's how high the river is right now. So when we get to really make the decision, we can't make a decision independent of other factors that would go in here.
Thank you. I think there have been a number of questions about the kind of information program that accompanies the energy plan and the options that go to residents in the city. I'm sure that the city manager has given consideration to that, so I want to recognize her so that we're not guessing about what the plan is. I think that could be informative to this discussion.
Thank you. So when we go out to bid again for this new, the new revised community power plan, there will be a substantial outreach similar to the first time the plan was adopted. If you remember the first time when we adopted the original plan, there were mailings, there were public meetings, we were on the radio. It was fairly substantial, but I will agree that even though we're going to go through a very similar effort again, that it is still hard to reach everyone. Everyone who currently is on our plan will receive a direct mailing from us, and it will explain that what's happening with the plan, what the new default is, and what their options are, and how they can make a change. And so we will be doing that, exactly what you're talking about, with whatever plan you adopt this evening.
All right, I'm not seeing another hand up. We have an amendment on the floor, and that amendment is to go to 3 tiers with the default option at 35%. Counselor Workman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mayor. I did have a couple of comments still. Thank you. I just wanted to make a couple of clarifying comments. So the reason I chose the 3-tier option and the figures that I did was as a compromise based off of the information that came out of FOP. It was actually Councilor Lake that said that the 3-tier was in line with consumer standards. So I thought that that would be a good thing and that it was a good compromise to make. As far as communication and it being a communication problem, Councilor Bosley touched on this a little bit, but just to remind folks, I have been in social services in this area since 2009, geez, long time, 09. I've worked with some of the most marginalized members of our community. Those members are folks who who have difficulty completing ADLs. And for folks who don't know what ADL is, that's activities of daily living. Those are your most basic tasks. That includes opening mail. When I was a case manager for several nonprofits in this area, I frequently had to go to my clients' homes just to open their mail, help them, because sometimes the task of even opening mail is too daunting for folks. Then you had folks who would call in a panic. I just got this letter, I don't understand it. I would take, as a case manager, I'd say, can you screenshot me a picture of it, because I can't get to you for 4 days or 3 days, a week. Because if you don't know, our nonprofit systems and our in-home services are very understaffed and overburdened. So just saying, someone else can opt you in or pull you down a rate, that's just putting more work on caretakers and in-home direct support professionals. And this will impact the folks who can't afford it the most. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Lake?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to clarify the position that I'd taken at FOP, so I was in support of 3 plans, or the 3 different tiers at FOP, but it was the 25, 50, and 100. I think it is very important that we keep the 25. I'm on board with that. I certainly didn't say that the bottom should be 35. And this is the recommendation coming out of Energy and Climate Committee. This wasn't specifically my suggestion coming out of that as well. So the idea was to simplify it, but I do think that the current motion coming out of FOP is a good one. I think that's what we should go with.
So we have that motion on the floor. Again, if you want to amend the committee report to go from 4 tiers to 3, which would be 25, 50, and 100, 35, 50, and 100, sorry. And with the default being at 35%, you'll vote in favor of the amendment. If you're opposed and wish to support the original committee recommendation, you'll vote against the amendment. Okay? Councilor Remy.
Can I ask for a roll call?
I'm sorry, roll call? Certainly. Any objection to a roll call? clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Bosley,
Yes.
Counselor Tobin,
No.
Counselor Remy,
No.
Counselor Filio.
No.
Counselor Williams,
No.
Counselor Haas,
No.
Counselor Jones,
No.
Counselor Madison,
No.
Counselor Roberts,
Yes.
Counselor Favelis,
Yes.
Counselor Lake,
No.
Counselor Workman,
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
No.
Counselor Greenwald,
No.
There are 5 in favor of the amendment, and obviously there must be 10 against the amendment. We're back to the main motion recommended by the committee. Any further conversation on this first motion? Counselor Bosley.
So, not that I think this is gonna win a lot of favor, but I just want to clarify that if we vote no on the committee recommendation, that leaves us at our original plan default? To 25, 35, 50, and 100?
We don't have a
Yeah, please. Because it may cancel the entire
Yeah, this is a little bit of a
motion.
team effort here, but my
Yeah.
understanding of the first one, there are numbers in there, but the thrust of this whole thing is to bid out the community power plan. So this does need to be approved in order for us to go forward with that. The numbers are what you can move around.
So this is the number portion?
So, may I add? Okay. So the first motion is your instructions to me for the bid. The second motion that you have is actually your amendments to the plan. So it's two separate things. We need to make some amendments to the plan regardless of what you determine will be the default. But every time we go out to bid, we also need to come back to you and ask for the parameters for the bid. So this first motion is just about the bid.
Counselor Leon?
To restate that question, so if I vote no, what happens?
Yeah, I don't believe I would have the authorization to move forward with a bid if you vote no.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
If you vote no, I don't believe I'd have the authorization to move forward with a bid because I wouldn't have instructions as to what to bid.
If we leave the community power plan in place with a vote yes at the end, then it would, our original plan would not remain in effect.
No. So the first one is just strictly about the bid. The second one is about the plan. So the plan, the language in the plan is written in a way that allows you to have flexibility from bid to bid. So you can add an adder fee, you don't have to have an adder fee, you can change your default, you can have 3 options, you can have 4 options. The plan is written with the most flexible language to allow you to do that every time you go out to bid. So we've made amendments to the plan to be able to do that for the future. And that plan will need to be approved by the PUC. So that is an entirely separate thing. This first motion is just instructing me what you want the parameters of the bid to be once the PUC has approved our plan.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes, I just have a question. So the one that we voted on, 3-2 at the FOP level, if, I would like to see that default not be 50. So if I wanted to make that change, I'd have to make that amendment right now?
Yes.
Okay, so I may not get a second, which I'm used to. So I would amend this, make the default 35.
Second.
Okay. Counselor Remy?
Thank you. I'd ask we call the question on this because we just voted on this 5 seconds ago.
No, we didn't. We did not.
We voted on this with removing the 25. So it was the same thing with removing the 25 was what we just voted on.
No.
To move. but it was 3 tiers with the default at 35, with eliminating the 25. Now we're voting on 4 tiers with the default as 35.
Two different questions.
Two different, but that's the question, is it just eliminating the bottom one and moving it to 35, or just moving it to 35? So I don't know, we need to go, I don't wanna spend a bunch of time doing a whole nother lap of why we.
I hear you. Most people have already voted, and probably for the same reasons, they'll vote the same way on this one. But there's a motion on the floor, an amendment on the floor to stay with 4 levels, but to move the default rate to where it is currently at 35%. That is a different motion than what we had previously. So I'm not gonna rule that out of order.
Didn't mean to call it out of order, I just don't wanna do the whole lap again.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Councilor Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was a suggestion to potentially change what our total goal would be, right? To move away from the 2030 goal to potentially a 2035 or some future goal. I'm not necessarily opposed to us taking a look at what our long-term plan is with this. We set an ambitious goal in 2019. If we're halfway through and we realize that was a little too ambitious and we need to bring that back, I get it. We still need to move forward. And it's really important that if we do say 2035 was our new goal, to still have incremental change between now and then. So that when we get to 2035, we're not going from 25% or 35%, whatever we set it at, to 100%. It's going to be a big jump that people are going to have to adjust for, rather than these small incremental changes. So I did do the math out quick on what those changes would be. And if we made the same incremental change between, for every cycle of negotiations that we have to do, right? We have to go out to bid this year, we have to go out to bid in 3 years, 3 years after that, 3 years after that. We need to be at 51% in this bid cycle to still make that 2035 goal and have it be incremental. Because we'd be 51 at the next one from the 35 that we're at now, 67 after that, 83% in 2031, and then 100% the year before that goal comes up. So I just don't see how we get to any of these renewable energy goals if we don't continue to incrementally increase the amount that we have. So I'm going to be voting against this because I think the 50 is spot on, even with a further out goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think folks are ready to vote.
Roll call again.
Roll call has been requested. No objection to the roll call. We're voting on an amendment to change the default rate, and that's the only change that this amendment is proposing.
Counselor Bosley?
Yeah, yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
No.
Counselor Filio?
No.
Counselor Williams?
No.
Counselor Haas?
No.
Counselor Jones?
No.
Counselor Madison?
No.
Counselor Roberts?
No.
Counselor Favelis?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
No.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
No.
Counselor Greenwald?
No.
Should be back at the same place. 5 in favor of the amendment, 10 against. We're back to the main motion. Counselor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many years ago, I chaired the, what was then called the Cities for Climate Protection. And back then is when we did our greenhouse gas plan, we did our carbon footprint plan. There was a lot of people interested. We also did our environmental plan, and when I was PLD chairman. So there's people within the city that want to go in that direction. The good thing about this is people are given a choice. You know what? They're getting what they pay for. If they're willing to pay for it, they're getting it with the 50%. We did hear about the price of housing earlier. Guess what? People are buying houses for $700,000, $800,000 right now. some of them are willing to pay that, to have the renewable energy. I think the plan that came out of committee was well discussed, and I think it works because it can work either way for whoever wants to go which way. Whether you want to be an environmental steward and go with the higher rate, please do. If you have concerns about what you're paying for, you can opt down or even opt out to another plan totally. That's not ours. So we're not hurting the people at all, I think, by voting for this plan.
Thank you. Councilor Chadbourne.
Thanks. I just have a question for the city manager through you, Chair.
Sure.
To avoid, like what happened with this young couple that I used it as an example, is it possible to come up with, each time somebody new to the community who has a new account gets a informational sheet so they know in advance and they're not blindsided when they find out otherwise?
I'm going to have Mary Bruner come up and talk a little bit about the process when people move in, if she can borrow a microphone.
Right. Thank you, Mary Bruner, Senior Planner. So thank you for the question. That is actually currently our process. When people move into Keene, or even if they already live in Keene and they're moving from one address to another address, because Eversource accounts are associated with the specific address of the meter, they are still considered to be a new customer, even if they're just moving from one location in Keene to another location. So every time somebody moves, we do what our consultants call a sweep, like once every few months. And what that means is that they get the data in batches from Eversource, which is our utility, and then they will send a mailer out to all of those customers, notifying them that they're eligible for automatic enrollment, and they get 30 days before that happens, where they can send in, with the letter will come a little opt-out card, so they can either fill out that opt-out card and send it back, or they can call, or they can go online to opt out. We have not been doing those sweeps ever since the default Eversource rate was lower than ours. So if somebody has moved into the community or moved from one location to another in the community in the last 6 months or so, that wouldn't have happened to them, just because we haven't been automatically enrolling people while the Eversource default is lower than the program. But when our rates are lower, because remember the Eversource's rates change every 6 months, but this program locks in a steady rate for 30 months. When our rates are lower is when we would send out that notification. So we, under state law, the way it's written, we don't just enroll someone without notifying them. They have to get that notice, and they have to have an option to opt out before they're enrolled.
That clarifies a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. We have the report of the committee as presented. I think the city managers explained this well enough, that this is the authorization and the guidance for a procurement contract and bid process to take place. So everybody ready for the vote? Yes? Do we want a roll call on this?
Sure, why not? Round them up.
Round them up.
This is the guy who's in a hurry.
There's no objection to.
That's a burn.
Councilor Bosley.
No.
Councilor Tobin.
Yes.
Councilor Remy.
Yes.
Councilor Filio.
Yes.
Councilor Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Haas.
Yes.
Councilor Jones.
We're doing a committee report, right? Yes.
Councilor Madison.
Yes.
Councilor Roberts.
Yes.
Councilor Favelis.
No.
Councilor Lake.
Yes.
Councilor Workman.
No.
Councilor Chadbourne.
No.
Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Councilor Greenwald.
Yes.
And that motion carries. It's 11-4. And we now move on to the second part of the motion. I think, Counselor Powers, do you want to refresh our memories on the nature of the plan?
Your question was, do I want to? You should know by now, never ask me. Yes, sir, we will take care of that. So our next motion, we want to carry out the intent of the committee report, and it's,
Seconded by Counselor Remy, if we haven't got that clear, yeah.
and FOP recommends that the community power plan with amendments shown in the draft that happens to be dated February 10th, 2025, 'cause that's when it was written, be adopted with the recommended revisions to have a 4-level plan.
I made that amendment.
Yep.
Counselor Remy
Please do.
and Counselor Fablese.
There was a confusion in the room. It was to make sure that there was an option within the plan to allow for a 4-level plan if there wasn't. Because we were moving to a 3, and I wanted to make sure that it could support a 3 or a 4 or a 6 or a 2 or whatever. But the idea was to make sure that that was allowed, not to say that we have to make it say it's a 4-level.
Got it. Counselor Fablese?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be voting in support of this piece of it. You know, I mentioned at last council in relation to a very different item, but I said, you know, the time for discussing whether we should have the thing in the contract or not has passed. Now it's just what it should be, and I feel a little bit the same here. You know, the time for discussing and voting on what the level should have been has come and gone. I do want to say that even though I did not support the default level being 50%. I do continue to see the value in a community power plan, and I do continue to see value in prioritizing as a city clean energy initiatives. And so I will be voting in support of this, and I encourage the councilors who voted on the losing side of the previous vote to join me in supporting these plans for which I was one.
Thank you. And I think what the conversation, which has been over a month and more with the council, does put a challenge out to our Energy and Climate Committee to take a look at the plan and consider where we are today and what kind of progress is reasonable for the community. And this is a plan that does need to go to the PUC. It does need to be approved, but it doesn't mean that we're frozen in time with this plan. There are options to tweak it, and I think this council has expressed some interest in wanting to see some additional thought put into the plan. Okay, this motion is on the floor. We're ready for a vote. I don't think we need a roll call on this one. All those in favor of authorizing this plan, and which means that the city manager will be submitting this on behalf of the city. Okay, all those in favor? We have a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on, I think, to the manager's report. Are we there?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Just a few updates for you this evening. I've mentioned in the past, in one of our past meetings, that we are very excited about a partnership with Eversource and the Arbor Day Foundation to help promote sustainability and increase green space. Eversource is donating more than 100 trees and shrubs to the city through the Arbor Day Foundation's Energy Saving Tree Program, which is a larger environmental initiative across the three-state service territory. Residents can visit eversource.com starting Monday, March 24th. So on 24th, go to their website, select and reserve a free tree or shrub while supplies last. Applications must be completed online through the application portal, and the available trees and shrubs are between 3 and 5 feet tall, so plan appropriately when you pick them up. The pickup location will be on the web portal. And we will be sharing all of this in a press release and social media. Also, in your box, you should have seen the date has been set for Green Up Keene Day, and we're getting the word out. It's Saturday, April 26th. We will again have a drive-through supply pickup on Saturday. Public Works will place dumpsters prior to the event and will drive specific routes the following Monday to pick up trash that has been collected by volunteers and placed in the New Hampshire Beautiful bags. Currently, we have 25 teams signed up. Maybe we should have a council team. That'd be fun.
In
Anyone?
my neighborhood.
And our neighbor, anyone interested in volunteering can find a link at keenanh.gov as well as a map showing which streets and neighborhoods are still available. So I'm not sure if your neighborhood's on there, Mayor. Also wanted to let you know the road safety, there will be a road safety audit. We submitted a request to the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, which has been approved for a road safety audit at Route 9 and Whitcombs Mill Road. That will occur on April 1st. Public Works is also sharing that there will be some downtown traffic disruptions for geotechnical testing using a truck-mounted drill from March 24th to April 1st. So expect some lane closures and some traffic delays. Also, Public Works is sharing that Airport Road will be closed for construction on March 24th through April 1st. It will, however, be available to waste haulers and official wastewater treatment business. The barricades will be set up just after the airport terminal parking lot and will not impact the traffic coming to and from the businesses located at the terminal. And that's all for me.
Councilor Haas?
Question on the Arbor Day offering from Eversource. So these are for residents to reserve a tree or shrub of their own. Could they donate that tree back to the city for installation on city property somewheres?
That's a great question. So I haven't gone onto the portal. Well, it's not available yet, but when you go onto the portal, they will talk about entering the location of where you're proposing the tree be placed, and there's an application process. And I suppose if you wanted to choose a place and it was approved as in the right of way, that could be potentially a location of a tree.
Thank you. Wonderful.
May I add to that real quick?
Yes.
All right. So the other thing that is happening, there's another effort, if you remember, being funded through the transfer station fund for trees. And those are the trees that will be located in the city right-of-way or on city property. And we are planning some trees to be located at the Findings property, the former Findings property. And so if that's what you're thinking, Councilor Haas, we have a plan for that.
He's got a pickup, he can get it himself.
Councilor Jones?
May I just ask, when you say the transfer station, is that the closure fund?
No, if you remember, the solid waste fund, we had negotiated a settlement with the Department of Environmental Services, which involved some tree planting.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move forward to ordinances for a first reading.
And we have three of them this evening. We'll start off with ordinance O 2025-07. An ordinance relating to amendments to the zoning map, specifically 425 Marlborough Street, neighborhood business to low density.
And we will refer that. I lost my script. I think that's going to go to.
Joint.
Right, to the joint planning board and FOP committee,
PLD.
PLD. Tongue twister. Sorry,
There's another agenda if you want.
thanks.
Right. Our second ordinance for first reading is ordinance O 2025-08. An ordinance relating to feather signs in the industrial and industrial park districts.
And we'll refer that to a joint committee meeting as well.
And our third ordinance for first reading is ordinance O 2025-09.
That also needs to be referred to a joint planning board and PLD committee, so.
And it's entitled relating to parking requirements for single-family dwellings.
Yep, okay. So no action required on those. We've got a couple of resolutions.
And we're starting off with a memorandum from the Economic Development Director, Special Projects Director. It's relative to 79E. And it has a resolution R 2025-09 relating to adopting the provisions of RSA 79E Community Revitalization Tax Relief Incentive.
That is being referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee.
Now we're returning back to a recommendation coming out of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. It is on Resolution R 2025-07, relating to the appropriation of funds for a sidewalk paving machine, and the committee is recommending its adoption.
I'll recognize Counselor Powers for a motion.
Thank you, Your Honor. You'll recall that a few months ago.
We need a second on that motion.
Need a motion.
Make the motion.
Did I not?
No, let's jump right in.
I'll start over again.
Is it seconded by Counselor Remy?
Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Thank you. It's
We're getting tired.
moved by Counselor Powers, seconded by
Resolution.
Counselor Remy.
We heard it.
Move for the adoption of Resolution 2025-07.
Second.
Counselor Powers for the committee.
Several months ago, you will recall that we talked about not so much changing, but just implementing a couple different parts of our program when we have bad sidewalks and bad pieces of roadway, where it needed repair, but it didn't warrant complete reconstruction, curbs, et cetera, et cetera. It wasn't associated with a road construction, et cetera. So Public Works has come up with a pretty good program that's it's a little aggressive maybe, going to depend on the summer weather, but they're going to be able to replace some sidewalks that are in bad shape, but won't be completely replaced with new sidewalks. In other words, they'll either be paved over with a layer, or they will be constructed in some fashion to take care of all the problems. However, to do that and do it properly, you need a paver. And not the paver you see on the road. You need a little paver. So the director's crew went out and did some pretty good investigating, and they first started at $40,000, and they worked somebody down to $8,500. So we're asking you to authorize moving from our unallocated funds $8,500 to the Public Works Department budget so they can pay for this, put the money back, because they figured it out so good, they took it home with them. You're gonna send them to buy a car for me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I get it. We better approve this quickly. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion?
It's a roll.
It's a roll call.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelie?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Motion carries unanimously.
Our next item is also a resolution. It's coming in from the Finance Director Treasurer. It is Resolution R 2025-10, a resolution relating to the appropriation of funds for the general fund unassigned fund balance.
And this we will refer to Finance, Organization, and Personnel for their consideration. Okay, at this point, I'd like to recognize Counselor Greenwald for a motion.
I'm sorry. Okay. Move to go into a non-public session to discuss the potential release of non-public minutes under RSA 91A 3-2M.
Okay,
Somebody?
second? Thank you. Seconded by Counselor Tobin. We need a roll call.
Counselor Bosley?
No?
Yes. Counselor Tobin?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Counselor Haas?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Favelie?
Yes.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Chadbourne? Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yep.
Motion carries unanimously. We're now moving into non-public session after a 5-minute recess.